So I've not got my hands on the DJI Mini 3 Pro. However, I have used the DJI Mini 2 for about the last 18 months or so, I think. That's not a good start to the morning. I really am not very good in a morning. In fact, I've never been very good in a morning, but there's nothing that freshens you up more than a nice walk on a spring morning and a fresh coffee. You can't beat it. It's only ever when I'm sat at my desk that he's this affectionate. He likes cuddles while I'm working. Alright, so DJI just released the DJI Mini 3 Pro. Is it called the Mini 3 Pro? It's called the Mini 3 Pro. I've just been watching videos on YouTube of it and I've got some thoughts. So I've not got my hands on the DJI Mini 3 Pro. However, I have used the DJI Mini 2 for about the last 18 months or so, I think. And I absolutely love that drone. It is absolutely perfect because you can just stick it in your bag. It takes up barely any space. You can get it up in the air within seconds and get incredible 4K footage to use everywhere. But this morning, DJI have released the Mini 3 Pro. Now, is it a big upgrade on the DJI Mini 2? And is it worth that Pro name? Looking at the specs, it does look like a decent upgrade from the Mini 2. You can shoot in 4K 60, which is double what you can shoot on the Mini 2, and you can shoot in 120 frames in 1080, which is still, even in this day and age where most things are in 4K, 120 1080p is still really nice to have sometimes. Would we like 4K? Yes, but not everyone is using it. It's a nice to have, but you're going to have to pay more if you want to shoot in 4K 120. What is really cool about this DJI Mini 3 Pro though is that you can now shoot in vertical mode like you used to be able to on some of the older drones. So the gimbal will actually spin round from landscape into portrait so you can shoot portrait photos or portrait video, and this is absolutely brilliant if you want to be doing loads of Instagram reels, because what you would have previously had to do is if you shot a landscape image you would have to crop it into a portrait image, which means you're losing all of the picture on the side. And if you wanted to take portrait photos, what you used to have to do was take 2 or 3 pictures with 3 different gimbal positions vertically so you could stitch them all together and create a portrait landscape. And now you can just spin the gimbal and take a portrait picture. So that is absolutely brilliant. That saves a lot of time and it is very useful for reels, shorts and TikToks if you're into all of that stuff. And as well now, the Mini 3 Pro comes with a separate optional controller, and this is similar to the big smart controller that you can buy for the Air 2S and the Mavic 3 Pro, and I think you could also use the smart controller with the Mini 2 as well, but this is a separate mini controller, and this is again brilliant because you used to have to rely on your mobile phone and you're relying on your mobile phone battery, and if you're getting notifications and calls it just becomes a bit of a faff if you're trying to fly your drone. So the fact that you can now get this separate mini smart controller is absolutely brilliant. So all of these features that are new with the Mini 3 Pro, whether it's the 4K 60, the new controller or the vertical shooting, I would say do give the Mini 3 Pro the Pro name. I think it stands up to that very well. And if you look back just a few years ago to when the first DJI Mini came out, I think it was called the Mavic Mini, they have come on so much and they still weigh exactly the same, which is crucial because in a lot of areas the drone restrictions start at 250 grams. 249 grams, which the Mini costs, you can fly pretty much anywhere without a license. So again, the fact that we have all of these new features that are still available for the same weight, meaning that you can fly it anywhere, is absolutely brilliant. There is, though, one feature that I think the Mini is missing that would make it so much more useful than it already is. And that feature is tracking. Now, I know the whole point of the Mini is to be able to keep the weight down so they can make this drone much more accessible to others while still having incredible filmmaking and photo opportunities with this tiny little drone. But I really struggle to think that by adding object tracking in will add that much more weight. And I don't know if it is a weight thing or if it's just something they want to keep for the higher end drones to make those more appealing. But object tracking in a DJI Mini would be so useful. There's been so many times where I've been, for example, out and about on my skateboard, my electric skateboard, and I wanted to be able to get top-down shots of me from my drone, but that's not really very doable because I've got my electric skateboard remote in one hand and also my drone remote, which I need two hands for. So it's not really very doable. If there was object tracking built into the drone, it would be doable. So I understand why it's not in there because it is in the more expensive drones. But I just think it'd be so useful in a drone that small. I just don't know if it is because of the weight or it's because of other things that they've just chosen not to put it in there. It's just slightly frustrating. I think it would make it almost the perfect drone if it had tracking built in. This is the danger when I've got fresh coffee in the house, is I drink way too much of it, but it's so good. I did also forget that another new feature on the Mini 3 Pro is it has two new obstacle avoidance sensors, which is incredibly useful because previously on the old Minis there was only two on the bottom. Now it has two on the front, so if you're flying towards anything it will sense them and avoid any crashes, which is very useful because I've made that mistake before. So lucky it didn't go in the water.
To the water.
I don't know how it didn't go in the water because it was literally in them little branches. Those little brown bits there, it is hanging off of them. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the DJI Mini 3 Pro now that it's been released today? Do you think it's worth the upgrade? Are you going to stick with the old Mini 2? Or are you just going to go for something bigger and better, like the Air 2S or the Mavic 3 Pro Cine that's got everything on it? That one, don't know what it's called. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit this subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you like what you see on the channel. And yeah, I've just realised I got my glasses on. I don't usually wear these on camera because I don't like them. Oh well, I'll see you in the next one.